So, guys, today we're going to be talking about an ongoing issue in the cyber world: internet thugs and cyberbullies. We all hate them. Some of us have been guilty of this, you know, or on the receiving end of it as well. And it's an ongoing issue. It starts in person, right? And now, people are just doing it quick and easy over the internet, ruining lives, sometimes ending in suicides. Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl BMF Goddess. I'm joined by my co-hosts Nick and Sofia, and I want to apologize because the audio kind of got screwed up on the making of this video. So none of it is going to match, but I didn't want to lose what I had, so sorry guys, but it's going to be awesome.
So, normally I would be at home right now, probably sleeping, because I'm an overnight worker and I sleep during the day and I'm awake at night while I'm at work. But today there was a big snowstorm, so there were no trains running to my house. So, I walked from the train station to my fiance's job, and I'm just kind of bumming it in the car while she's at work. So it works out for everybody because normally I'd be asleep and we wouldn't be having this conversation. So you got me on a good day despite the snow. So, cyberbullying. Yeah, I'd like to start off by saying in 2020, in May, a Japanese wrestler named Hana Kimura committed suicide because of cyberbullying. And the thing I took issue with was how everybody on social media was like, she's so inspiring, she's so uplifting, cyberbullying is bad. Okay. So everybody was on that trend for a little while, and then they just forgot. So it continues to happen despite all of that, and that's why I don't get behind social media trends, because these are important socioeconomic issues that people are only sharing or doing because everybody else is sharing it and everybody else is doing it. So that's why I take issue with that. But if you feel this way in real life, then you'll continue to support it, and even after it's disappeared from the internet, you'll still think about it. So that's why I think about this girl, because when she committed suicide, I pictured it as if it were me, because I've had those thoughts before, because I've said things like, what if these people don't really need me? And that could have just as easily been me. But the reason that I didn't, and I like to think that, we all have something worth living for, but it's not true for everybody. The thing that stopped me from doing it was my little brother. And if he can hear this right now, yeah, baby bro, it's because of you. Because a long time ago when I had those thoughts, I was like, ooh, he'd have to be the one to find my body. So, wasn't really happy about that. I don't know how that would have affected his life moving forward. So, it's called being considerate. And yeah, I know life was bad for me growing up, but he had a similar upbringing. So, it's not like I'm alone in this. But that doesn't have anything to do with cyberbullying. But a lot of how I respond to people now shares its roots with how I got bullied as a kid. So, because of my mother's, let's say, irresponsible decisions, I was in a shelter, and then we moved from a shelter to the projects, and then from the projects, we just kept moving around. And I don't like change. I don't do change very well. And I went to the same school for 9 years. So my first day of high school, I was like, what is this? So back when we were moving a lot, I was having what I like to call bathroom anxiety. I was so young then that I thought that I'd fall down the drain. That's how bad it got. But I wouldn't be taking care of myself. And I'd be going to school, not looking my best, not smelling the best, and all these people would make fun of me. So it came to the point where they did something really creative with my name, and they called me, instead of Nicholas, they called me Stinkolas, which I always thought was hilarious and original. But actually, no. I think that it's very like condescending, and it really affected me. It made me not want to use my actual name anymore. So they would take my books out of where they were. Like, we had this like cubby space, but they would take these books out, my books with my name on them, and they would put them in other kids' desks, and then they'd find my book, and then they would react like they had just been infected. They would be like, ew, Nicholas's book. So that's kind of why I don't like my name anymore. I prefer Nick. I like to go by Nick. And yeah, that was me getting bullied in grade school. Thank goodness I got over that. I take a lot more care of myself now. So, but it still doesn't hurt any less, you know? And cyberbullying is kind of the same thing, but you got these keyboard warriors, and what they do is they get brave because they know that there are no repercussions. You can't look at them a certain way, you can't hit them at all, so they can say whatever they want to. And the internet is one big pool of information. It's also got misinformation, aka fake news, and people can take from this big pool of information. And it's kind of like when you take your dog outside to take a shit. Like, some people clean up after their dog, but some people just don't, and they leave that shit there. But the people who do clean it up, it's like you knew that it was there, so it's like the only person who really has to deal with it now is you internally. But some people don't think about how others feel when they say certain things. You know what I mean? So that leads me to a story about what happened when I was in the BWF. So this guy, I won't say his name because as a wrestler, I believe that if you talk about somebody and you use their name, you are giving them an avenue to get more fans or to get more publicity. I don't believe that bad publicity is bad publicity. You know, bad publicity is still publicity. So as a wrestler, I won't be saying who he is just because I don't want to give him any additional attention. You know, he's going to earn his own fans organically, and I'm not gonna deal with him anymore. But here's what happened. So I fucked up, and I make no bones about it. I know I fucked up, but it's wrestling. It happens. So this was the first time that I actually really got like booked on the show. Like, otherwise I would show up and they'd give me a match, but this was the first time I actually had a match booked in advance. So I'm still relatively young in my career, even though I've been training since 2012. This happened last year. So 2020, we're 8 years after I started training, so I know a little bit more now than I did then, but I still don't know everything. So I made a mistake and I hurt the guy. And I know there's still a lot to learn, but I know now, especially because of how he reacted. Like, he just flipped out and started hitting me for real. And his boy told me that he said, don't go to the locker room. And it's like, this is my home venue. I'm from the Bronx, so BWF is in my backyard, right? I don't even think he's from there. He told me, or his friend told me, don't go in the locker room. And because of how I got treated as a kid growing up, you know, I didn't want to fight him. I didn't want to confront him. I was just like, all right, he's mad. Let me just let him deal. So I started to get a little bit cold. Now, I know you ladies wear tights sometimes, and I was in my tights, and I was getting a little cold. So what I decided was I was going to change my clothes, and then I was going to leave, you know, give him some time and distance and space. So I let him stay in the locker room by himself, and then I saw him walk out of the locker room. So then I said, what a perfect opportunity. So I scatter around and grab my stuff, and I'm telling the story of what happened because one of the referees said, oh, that didn't look like it went as planned. So I was like, yeah, here's what happened. And who should walk in but this motherfucker? And I look at him, and, you know, I'm not like super opposed to confrontation. Like, I'll tell anybody to their face how I feel about them, but I believe that that's all that it'll be. I don't really get into fights like that. But when I saw him, it was fight or flight. It was like, what do you want to do about this situation? My original plan was to get my shit and go. But after I saw him and he saw me, I had to decide what I was going to say to him. So I chose confrontation. So I went up to him and I apologized. And I told him, look, man, I know I fucked up. And he just kept saying hurtful things like you shouldn't be anywhere near this business and making me feel bad. And he doesn't know about my upbringing. He doesn't know shit about me. He just wants to make me feel bad because he got hurt because of me. And I don't agree with it. And I'm not going to stoop to his level and start firing back at him. So I just kept trying to apologize, and he punches me in the face. And that was the last time I saw him. So you would think that I would have less to say about it, but then I go on social media, and anytime somebody says my name around him, he talks so much shit, and he's just being like inconsiderate to me about how I feel about what happened. Like, I still feel horrible about what happened, but he's inconsiderate, and he's talking about how I'll never last in the ring with him. But in the streets it would be a different story, but in the ring, yeah, he can't say things like that. Like, he doesn't know how it'll affect some people. And he's just doing it because nobody ever told him, don't say things like that. His friends are giving him the attention that he wants. He's getting the likes, he's getting the comments, he's getting the shares. So he thinks that he's doing well for himself. But he really just doesn't give a shit about how I feel. And that always upset me. I mentioned before how my brother was the big reason why I didn't do that to myself. And it's like, I often wonder how his life would be if I did that. I often wonder about my impact on other people's lives, and I'm always asking myself, if something goes wrong, is there something I could have done differently, or did I do something wrong? Which is another way of considering things. I definitely hope to get all of the insecurities that I've had and erase them, but it's definitely not going to happen just like that. So
Nick, wow. I just want to say that you had an incredible amount of patience. Like, first of all, no one should be telling you to be doing nothing. And I don't even have the patience for that. Especially when they're trying to be rude, or like, certain people know who they can pick on, basically. And I dislike when people behave that way.
Hey everybody, this is Sophia Thorne. This podcast is about, internet bullies and bullies in general. I grew up as a victim of bullying due to the fact that I was a foster kid. So, my clothes was raggedy, my shoes was raggedy, my hair was raggedy, and, I had no parents at the time. I also didn't have a steady set of friends to, help me walk through all the bad times in life. Due to the fact that I was always moving one home to the next home every 6 months, it was something new. So I didn't really have a solid friend to help me through those moments.
But you got through it, and that is amazing because you found the strength within yourself to do so. And it's a hard thing to do, especially when you've been, crushed so bad. All types of bullying has been known to significantly, emotionally, psychologically, and physically distress people. People experience anxiety, fear, depression, and, low self-esteem. People may even experience physical symptoms, mental health issues, and in, the worst cases, suicide.
there's a quote that I like to think about in these times that we're talking about bullying and cyberbullying, and that's, kill him with success and bury him with a smile. Now, I don't smile much, but bury is especially important to me because it's wrestle speak for make this person not important or demote this person. So basically, it's whether or not they were able to convince you that the image that they have of you in their head also belongs in your head. But if you know the truth and you're doing better for yourself, the only thing you can do at that point is to continue to believe in yourself, and things will happen for you. And when I say bury them with a smile, I mean to say is they will dig their own hole, and you can just stand back and watch them do it, because all he's really going to do if he continues to talk shit about me online is surround himself with people who see him for what he really is, and that's bitter and unlovable. And if they choose to support him and encourage him, then that's how he's going to get his hit of dopamine. But I know better, so I do better.
I absolutely love that, Nick. That is utterly and completely valid in my eyes. So very good. And for those unaware, cyberbullying, internet harassment, all that, even in person or offline, all of it has the potential to be criminal charge. There's defamation. There's different subcategories according to the situation. But yes, you can be criminally charged for these type of acts.
It wasn't until high school that everything, kind of got to me. There were several suicide attempts, and with each attempt I was locked in a, mental institution. It sort of helped, but, bullying is, probably the worst thing anybody could go through.
Can't agree with you more, Sophia. It is the worst thing, one of the worst things to go through, especially if you don't have a thick skin, as I do. And I didn't always have this thick skin, let me tell you. There was a time where I was very, very much innocent and timid, and I had to grow out of that fast, especially growing up in the hood and around a bunch of motherfuckers that prey on the weak. And not to call people weak, but like I said, people know who to mess with. And I dislike those people because those same people won't go up to somebody who they feel they couldn't behave like that with. So they take advantage. And for those listening who are guilty of any of this type of behavior, I usually go say fuck yourselves, because on some, if we look at this realistically, it's not going to end. People are going to use the internet for their selfish, disgusting needs. And unfortunately, some of those people are just using it, to hurt others. And for the people that are listening and are suffering from this, there are ways, which I'm going to share. There are ways around not hurting yourself or letting it break you or bring you down or fuck up your life.
I often wonder what happens in these people's lives that turn them into these hard to deal with people. And I'm very liberal with my assumptions. Maybe he didn't get enough ass at home. Maybe he wasn't loved enough as a child. I can't say for certain that I know, but the only thing I do know for sure is I know me, and I know how to better myself. So it's really about consideration, actually. So I don't know what's going on in his life, and I think that the best thing that I did for me, for my sanity, was to block him and pretend he doesn't exist. And it's very quiet now. And I don't agree with the karma thing, because back in high school, I was the worst. I was very unfaithful to my girlfriend, and I should have definitely gotten my karmic retribution when I got caught in her inbox by her then boyfriend. And he said he wanted to meet up with me, and I said, all right, it's time to face the music. So I went to go meet up with him, and he decided when he saw me that it was okay, that he didn't think that anything needed to happen. So I was happy about that, but at the same time, I was like, I was ready to deal with what I was about to get. And So, yeah, I believe that good things happen to good people, bad things happen to bad people, but that bad things also happen to good people. And I don't consider myself good by any stretch of the imagination, but imagine all the people whose lives have been affected by people who didn't give a shit. And it's just about consideration.
reason I get the reason I get so passionate about this subject is because number one, I have dealt with this behavior. I'm still dealing with this behavior on occasion from the same person, and it's really crazy. Except that in my situation, the person is all defamation of character, and then it's the person circulating even memes of me, stealing my pictures and writing, nasty things on them. Horrible, stupid shit. But I know that person is just vindictive, catty, and being very evil. Whereas in other cases, people they're oblivious to the fact that they're even hurting someone else, which is why I also want to bring awareness, because people often, too often, do not think before they speak or they act. And that is crucial in life. Your words or actions towards someone else can have the only ripple effect that could start a conundrum of problems off of one small thing you consider small.
The worst came when I entered the wrestling business and I met my ex-husband. His friends were the biggest bullies of all. They didn't want me with him, and they didn't like me. For no reason, they just didn't like me. In the wrestling business, they use gimmick as an excuse for their behavior, which is kind of like retarded, because you can be a heel and not bully people online. Then came the time that I got pregnant, and I was sent the most horrible messages, like, your husband deserves better, that child is not his, I hope you kill yourself, I wish you catch AIDS and die, stuff like that. For a pregnant person, that is probably the most horrible thing to go through, because emotionally they are at the most sensitive time in their life. And stress can be like the killer of babies. Can have miscarriages, and there's plenty of things that can go wrong in a pregnancy with stress. Then there was this guy who a lot of people know. He was a veteran in the business. And mind you, his supposed gimmick, even though he's retired and he doesn't wrestle, he still claims it's a gimmick. He would bully almost all females. And there were several males that he did go after just because they spoke up for somebody or whatever the case is. Women had it harder though. He would talk about my body. He would talk about, a lot of stuff. He would call me a ring rat and stuff like that. I grew a thick skin because of him. We ended up becoming friends. And then one time he tried to kiss me. So I slapped him in the back of his head. Since then, I haven't really spoken to him. I don't know if he's going to tell the truth, and I don't know if he's going to deny it, but I know that he has friends that would deny it for him. Then they would trash talk me and all that stuff without really reaching out and asking him if it's true or not, or just asking me. But what I did see was he blocked me on his Instagram, and somebody ended up sending me screenshots of him talking about me on IG, literally trashing me and everything. He's probably still doing it to this day, and I'm at a point in life where I just don't give a shit, because I know who you really are. You're a big-ass bully on Facebook and on Instagram or all social medias, but you're really a punk behind that screen. This goes out to everybody. Don't let words hurt you to a point that you want to hurt yourself, because it isn't worth it. It took having children to realize that who's going to take care of them? Who's going to love them like I do? Who's going to feed them? Who's going to take them to school? There's nobody in this goddamn planet that's going to do for them like I do for them. And there's not a soul in this planet that will care enough to even reach out and do anything for them if anything was to happen to me. Every bully will have their day. I know I've seen karma hit certain people that shitted on me, especially the one that told me to kill myself, People may not believe in karma, but it's real. You get back what you put out in this world. So just be kind, be nice. If you don't got nothing nice to say, just keep it to yourself. And as a heel, you should know your limits.
The fucking lutely. Karma is real, bro. Let me tell you, I know firsthand. I've made mistakes and stupid decisions in my life, and they've all come back to eat me alive. And sometimes worse than others. And I'd rather not fuck with karma. So people really need to think about that as well. A friend of mine had a 17-year-old daughter, and she was getting severely bullied at school. And it was so bad that she didn't want to go to school anymore. And her mother got up and started homeschooling her. And it didn't stop there. They continued to harass and bully her online. And it was she couldn't take it. You know, she wasn't strong enough to, she couldn't withstand all the terrible things they were calling her and doing over the internet as well. So my friend lost her daughter. She committed suicide, and there's nothing no one can do about that. All those people who were doing what they were doing to her and being a part of the problem, I really wonder how they feel now. Are you happy that you played a role in taking a life? Because really, I support criminal charges when they have to do with this subject. Because you people doing it think you're so cool and you're so big and bad. But really, you're not. You ain't shit. You're the type of person who has such low self-esteem. Doing this to people is what makes you feel like you're part of a crowd or like you're cool. And you should have to face punishment. I'm not a person who calls the cops at all. Like, in my own situation, I never went to the authorities. Like I said, I still deal with it time to time because my stalker has no life. But does my stalker deserve it? Hell yeah, because I'm not the only person that they've done it to or are doing it to. And it's really sad. But that karma's gonna come. Trust me. I'm not gonna say any more about that on here because the karma's gonna come in the form of Yazzie. But in the form of the BMF goddess.
So I didn't have any friends growing up, and it doesn't please me to say any, but when I was getting picked on and bullied in school, the only reason that stopped was because this one dude came into the school, and if I had whatever they were looking for in a person to beat up and to talk shit about, he had that times 10. And so as soon as he opened his mouth for the first time, it was like the doorway was opening for me. Like, I was getting picked on for all those years, and then he comes into school and the doorway opened for me. So I was able to secure my spot, let's say popularity wise, by insulting him when he tried to, well, I'm sure you remember there was a time back when we were young where everybody would talk about yo mama. And he tried to hit me with a yo mama joke, and it just kind of bounced off me. And then I absolutely flamed his ass, and everybody turned on him, and everybody sided with me. And it was almost kind of like nothing ever happened. But I remember what did happen. And for the rest of the year, that kid became an outsider. He was me for all those years. But because I was finally being accepted by people, I didn't give a shit about him, and I really didn't give a shit about what they did to me back then, as long as we were okay now. But the thing about cyberbullying, too, is it's about clique mentality. Like, I remember I was in a Facebook group not too long ago, and you can tell that there were, like, certain cliques. And if you were an outsider, you'd get ostracized. Or if you rub somebody the wrong way, then they'll tell their friends, be like, guys, we hate this person. for no other reason than because you rubbed them the wrong way. Then they got their friends to hate you, and it's not a very good feeling because what if one of those friends could have been your friend under different circumstances? But I digress. It's kind of like what happened in high school where there were these three girls, and collectively, when they hung out together, I called them the Birds, and if you were there, you'd know why. But the Birds, separately and individually, would not talk shit to me. But whenever they were together, boom, it was like they feed off each other. They were waiting for somebody to say something so that they can say something next, and then it's a power struggle, really. It's just to make yourself feel better, honestly.
Wow. Well, the birds certainly sound like two cowards who are really pussy, to be honest. Just trying to be cool. That's so fucking lame. Like, I understand your frustration and the fact that you kept it together says a lot. You ever been in those situations where the guilty, try to recruit their friends, to dislike you too or to make fun of you too? You know, the thing is, and this has happened to me as well, but I never rebutted because, you know, the guilty have something to prove. Yeah, I don't got shit to prove to nobody. I don't have to explain to myself. I don't have to explain myself to anyone. And neither do any of you, especially if you're going through that type of situation. Defamation of character is definitely something difficult to swallow, but the people that are realist with you and the people who really know what's up. And anybody outside of that just doesn't matter.
Don't let anyone tell you that going to the police is the wrong choice or that it makes you a pussy, because it doesn't. There are a lot of non-confrontational people out there that really don't have a choice because they rather not be physical with someone else. But the bullies will make you think that you are a weak person for going to the police. There are way too many laws out there to protect us as victims from these, internet thugs or people who bully you in person. Don't let anyone make you feel less than nothing for going to the police. Because those same people are scared to go to jail. They're scared of that soap falling on the ground. They're scared to be somebody's bitch. They're scared to turn out gay after they come out of jail. So if you can't physically fight somebody, or you're scared to fight somebody, or you feel fighting is a waste of energy, we have choices now that will forever stay in their criminal records. Because a lot of us have kids, wives, husbands, sisters, brothers. That fighting a bully is not really worth it because we don't know if we're going to come out alive, we're going to come out broken, or we're going to win. That's a chance that not everybody wants to take. But don't worry, we're beautiful, we're kind, we are legendary. Yes.
Thank you for that, Sophia. That was on point. I feel all of that.
It agrees with what I was saying before about home life. You can never really know a person's home life. I feel like some people would take that as justification to be a shitty person. And I know I've been that type of person to be like, oh, life was bad for me, so I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And that's not how it works. And I want you to understand that what I learned is all it is an excuse, because at the end of the day, you're still a shitty person and you will now be affecting somebody else. And now the story will continue until that person has the balls to say enough.
That was impeccably said, Nick. I completely agree. All right, with that, I just want to thank everyone for listening tonight. Please subscribe to your girl, BMF Goddess, on YouTube. And may the force be with you.